طيب، مساء الخير للجميع. رائد، افتح عندك الصوت، تعمل معروف. أبو راية، مساء الخير
فاتح.
للجميع، أهلا وسهلا فيكم. بالافتتاح خلي أخونا أبو راية أستاذ رائد راح يحكي شغلات تقنية وشغلات إدارية. أكمل دقيقة طبعا شرح عن الموضوع، بعدين إحنا بنبلش معنا أخونا أبو بشارة أستاذ خليل هاروني. نكمل بالمحاضرة الثالثة. تفضل أستاذ رائد.
طيب, good evening everyone. I would like to say a few words in English just to improve the big benefit that we got from participating in this program, and it's occasion to say thank you for colleague Abu Bshara, and I hope that we can continue in this rhythm until we can use the English that you give for us in the field. But because I have a lot of remarks regarding our program, I will say it in English. مسيكم بالخير جميعا. أنا اخترت إني أحكي هاي الملاحظات بالعربي حتى نقدر نواصل برنامجنا بنفس النجاح اللي إحنا انطلقنا فيه، ونحصل على الفائدة المرجوة من كل النواحي. بحب أكد أن الهدف الأساسي من هذا البرنامج هو فقط الإثراء اللغوي الإرشادي بالإنجليزي. إحنا مش بصدد إجراء منافسة مين بيعرف أكثر أو مين بيعرف أقل. إحنا بصدد التمكن من القوالب اللغوية بالإنجليزي اللي بتعطينا هاي الأداة اللي نستغلها ونستفيد منها لما بنكون في عملنا الميداني. بتمنى إنه هذا العمل يعود بأقرب فرصة وننتهي من هذه الظروف الصعبة اللي كلنا متأثرين فيها. هاي الملاحظة الأولى. الهدف الأساسي هو القالب اللغوي. لسنا بصدد المنافسة. كلنا ما شاء الله عنا متمكنين من المادة الإرشادية. لسنا بصدد التنافس حول المادة الإرشادية، إنما بصدد إغناء قاموسنا المهني بالإنجليزي. فالرجاء التقيد بهذا الأمر. هناك في جعبة إدارة المنتدى برنامج راح يعلن عنه قريبا لسلسلة من الخطوات والنشاطات الإثرائية. هناك المجال مفتوح لكل هذه الاجتهادات. في دورتنا هاي، في برنامجنا هذا، فقط التأكيد على القالب اللغوي، المصطلح الصح، الصياغة الصح، الاستعمال الصحيح في المكان الصحيح لهذا التعبير أو لذاك التعبير. فرجاء خلينا كلنا نتقيد بهذا الشيء. الأمر الثاني، وهذا مرتبط في السؤال اللي سأله الزميل قبل شوي حول التسجيلات، إحنا بصراحة حتى الآن لم نجد الطريقة المناسبة لترتيب موضوع الرسوم الرمزية للمشاركة في الدورة هاي. وفي حينه وضحنا إنه هي رسوم رمزية فقط لتغطية المصاريف الجارية، بالأساس تكاليف الزوم اللي إحنا ماخدين زوم تجاري وليس خاص، وبعض المصاريف الأخرى. فحتى الآن ما فيش عندنا طريقة كيف يتم ترتيب هذا الأمر. وهذا يتعلق أيضا في نشر التسجيلات. التسجيل جاهز، بنزل على اليوتيوب. ممكن يكون كل واحد يحصل على مفتاح لما ينزل بنخبركم عنه، وكل واحد بده يسمعه بنبعث له كود حتى يقدر يفوت ويسمع ويتمتع بهذا الإثراء اللغوي اللي عم نحصل عليه. الأمر الثالث، الملاحظة الثالثة السريعة، إحنا الأسبوع الماضي كان في اجتماع طاقم الإداري للمنتدى. أهم قضية كانت ترتيبات لعقد الاجتماع العام الثاني قبل 4 سنوات عقدنا الاجتماع الأول التأسيسي، إحنا بصدد الاجتماع الثاني. ونستغل الفرصة اللي مش كلنا حابينها ولكن موجودة. راح يكون الاجتماع إما بنهاية شهر 1 أو ببداية شهر 2. كل التفاصيل راح توصلكم أول بأول من خلال المجموعة الكبيرة، فمنيح تكونوا عارفين. وإحنا طبعا نتوقع ونتوخى أنه العديد من الزملاء يشوفوا من المناسب أنهم يساهموا أيضا في إنجاح هذا العمل لصالح المنتدى، لصالح مهنة الإرشاد، لصالح الرسالة اللي نحملها كلنا مع بعض، ويعطونا من طاقاتهم حتى كلنا نستطيع أن نحمل هذه الرسالة بكل أمانة. الملاحظة الرابعة وقبل الأخيرة هو قضية نقابة مرشدين السياحة في البلاد، النقابة العامة. أنا بأكد وبستغل هاي الفرصة وكل فرصة لضرورة وأهمية الانضمام للنقابة العامة أجودات موريها ديريخ بإسرائيل. الآن أثبت من جديد للمرة مش عارف قديش مهم إنه إحنا نكون منظمين ويكون عندنا عنوان نقابي اللي يهتم بحقوقنا المالية والقانونية مقابل مؤسسات الدولة، تأمين وطني، مكتب التسجيل، الاستخدام، ضريبة الدخل وغيره من المؤسسات، بالإضافة لأمور نقابية أخرى. فبالتالي إحنا مقبلين أيضا على المؤتمر السنوي للنقابة، وأثبتنا من خلال إدخال 3 زملاء من منتدى مرشدين السياحة العرب في مؤسسات النقابة قديش هذا الأمر مهم. فتخيلوا لو يكون عندنا بدل 3 5 أو 6. هذا ممكن فقط إذا إحنا زدنا عدد مندوبينا وأعضائنا في النقابة العامة. فرجاء خذوا الموضوع بكل جدية. من لم ينضم ومن لم يجدد عضويته في أجودات موريها ديريخ الآن النداء لذلك. الملاحظة الأخيرة فيما يتعلق في آلية التواصل بيناتنا في هاي المجموعة. إحنا لما بيكون عندنا محاضرة، الأخ ستيف اللي هو المسؤول، إحنا عبطناه كمان مسؤولية سبحكي عنها، بس هو المسؤول عن تشغيل الزوم وفتح المجال للحديث لمن يطلب ذلك. ولكن بحب أكد إحنا هاي فرصة نتعرف على بعض. أنا بطلع على المشاركين وبشوف إنه جزء مش حاطين اسمهم الصريح. مهم كل واحد يحط اسمه الصريح حتى نتعرف عليه، ويفتح الكاميرا حتى نشوف وجهه السموح، ولما نلتقي مع بعض نكون صرنا عارفين مع مين بنحكي. أنا شخصيا بعرف شو جدي من الزملاء، بس بحب أتعرف على الكل وبحب كمان يتعرفوا على بعض الزملاء. فرجاء فتح الكاميرا، الحديث لما الأخ ستيف بيفتح المجال، وحتى نقدر نعمل سايد إفكت من هاي الفعالية اللي يقوم بها المنتدى لصالح كل المرشدين. حتى الآن صار عندنا 50 مشارك اليوم، أقل شوي من المرة الماضية، ولكن 50 يعتبر عدد كبير جدا. شكرا لإصغائكم بالنجاح إلنا كلنا مع بعض حتى نقدر نتمكن من الإرشاد ومن اللغة الإنجليزية ومن تحصيل الحقوق ونواصل حمل الرسالة مع بعض. شكرا جزيلا للجميع.
شكرا لك ابو رايا، وعقبال 120 زي 20 زي 19 يا
تسلم يا
اخوان.
غالي، تسلم.
هاي انا ما حبيتش اعيد على ابو رايا بالبدايه، قلت بس يخلص كلمته ونسمعها طبعا الارشادات والشغلات اللي اشتغلنا عليها. فاحنا باسم طبعا ابو شاره واسمي واسم الجميع عقبال 120 سنه خي ابو رايا،
حبيبي تسلم، شكرا
وبس
شكرا.
بالصحه والهداة البال وتضلك نشيط. يعني انا بقول
ما احنا
شغله
كلنا
اسمحوا
سوا،
لي.
كلنا سوا.
الله
يلا
يخليك،
هاي انا
اسمح
مسكر
لي.
الميكروفون.
اسمح لي، لا بدي اقول لك شغله. يعني ما هيك انا من بلدياتي هيك اللي بكلب على لساني. اللي القيادة وروح العطاء وروح القيادة بتتعلمهاش بالكتب، ولا
تسلم.
بتطلب من الناس انه انا قائد هياني تعال شوفوني. إنما البني آدم تولد معاه، فالله يخليك وتضلك
تسلم.
بعطائك للجميع.
كلنا مع بعض
أوكي،
حبيبي. شكرا
الله
شكرا.
يخليك
يلا
علينا برايا.
باي باي.
الله يخليك. Okay, everybody. Forum of Arab Tour Guides. Again, we are here. The third meeting, December 1st, 2023. Is it correct?
Right.
Okay. So our meeting will be about a journey through time, Jesus' ministry in the northwest of Sea of Galilee. So we are all ears, Mr. Khalil. Again, the third time, you are our guide, our teacher. You are welcome. Give us again. Thank you very much.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I have two remarks here. What I'm going to do, first of all, somebody sent me a note asking me to talk slowly. I will do that. And if there are difficult words, I will try to mention the Arabic meaning of the words. Anyway, I prepared a written lecture with translation of some of the words, and that will be sent to everybody, I hope. This is number one. Number two, part of the lecture will be what I do when I visit a site. Part of it is biblical, because most of our customers, the pilgrims, are religious, are here for religious purposes. They are not here for fun. Some of them are, but in general, they are pilgrims. And as I mentioned earlier in the first two lectures, we don't know who are these people. It would take some time to understand their mentality, their background, their faith, if they are Protestant, Christian, if they are Catholics, if they are Orthodox, and so on. So I will do that. Part of the lecture will be how I talk in front of the pilgrims. The other part will be about some information that we don't learn during the course of guiding. Anyway, I promised that I will start with the cave of Eremos. The cave of Eremos. What is the cave of Eremos? This cave, we know about it from the notebook of Egeria, or as some people pronounce it, Etheria. It is a Spanish pilgrim. Some people say she is French. We don't know. She was here more or less 380 AD. And she wrote some notes about few places. Probably, maybe, I will mention what she wrote when we come to these places. Anyway, where is the cave? The cave of Eremos is on the slopes of a hill that we call Mount Beatitudes. In fact, the name of Mount Beatitudes originally was Mount Eremos. So this is for information. How do we get to that cave? There are two options or three options, but the best way is to walk from the Church of Primacy to cross the road. There are like steps, not really steps, and you go walking up the hill until you get to the Church of Beatitudes. On the way, you will see the cave. What is Eremos? I heard some people saying, oh, this is the cave of Saint Eremos. There is no Saint Eremos in this cave. Eremos is a Greek word, which means isolated place. منعزل, مكان منعزل. It is a place where it is believed, and this is important, that Jesus prayed. And it is the place where it is believed that there Jesus had the Sermon on the Mount, al-Khutbah ala al-Jabal, the Beatitudes. So originally people thought that in this cave, Jesus, after seeing the multitudes, al-Jamahir, he wanted to take some private time. He went up on the slopes, side hill of the hill, came to that cave, and he started to pray. The disciples and people followed him, and there he taught them his lesson, his sermon. Now, something which is interesting. Eremos has another name, which is wilderness. And wilderness takes a good place in the life of Jesus. He was baptized in the wilderness. He was tempted, the Mount of Temptation, tempted, jurriba, in the wilderness. He was, from time to time, in that area, especially when he passed by or came to Jericho. Jericho is in the wilderness. In fact, that wilderness is called Judean wilderness. Judean wilderness, Barri. Wilderness is Barri. That is about the cave of Eremos. I know most of us haven't been there. Most of us haven't heard about it. But it is good to know that there is something like this, and that was originally the place of the Beatitudes, according to Igeria. Now we go up to the Church of Beatitudes. The Church of Beatitudes, as we all know, is a Roman Catholic church located on the Mount of Beatitudes by the Sea of Galilee, near Tabgha and Capernaum. Notice I didn't say Tabgha and primacy and Capernaum, because Tabgha was one piece of land. That is the Tabgha that we know it Tabgha today, and the primacy. It was one piece of land. I remember in the 60s, early in the 70s, I used to go to fish there at Tabgha. And there was a house that still exists. When you are at the primacy, next to the primacy, there is a building separated by a fence between primacy and that building. There was a man called Abu Liza. I don't know if any of you knew him or heard about him. Abu Liza, that had to leave was forced to leave because this property, this area, was bought by the Franciscans. And he rented the area and didn't want to leave. Anyway, later on, in the 80s, they divided the place and it became Tabra and Primacy. So the Church of Beatitudes is a Roman Catholic run by Franciscan nuns. Today, we say that the Sermon on the Mount, Al-Khutbah ala al-Jabal, took place over there. Before they constructed the new entrance to the Beatitudes, the entrance was on another side, where we pay the entrance fees to the right if we are coming in the Beatitudes. If we come in, on the right, there is a road not paved, غير مرصوفة, غير مزفتة. And we used to go over there where Abu Samir, if some of you remember, there was the entrance. And there is a slope. There is a slope, munhadar, that it is believed that is the area where Jesus gave the Sermon on the Mount. Okay. We talk about the Sermon on the Mount. Usually I ask some people to read the Bible. The story of the Beatitudes is in Matthew 5. I'm not going to read all the Beatitudes. I will read the first two lines, the first two verses, and I have a good reason about that. If you want to read, you can read. If you want somebody from the group to read it, let them read, especially if you have kids, children. Ask the children to read the Bible, because for them, this will become the most beautiful moment. Wow, I read the Beatitudes on the Mount of Beatitudes. When he goes back home, he will tell his teacher, his colleagues, his friends, I was there. You know, it is a kind of joy. Why I am reading this now? I will read it and tell you how I do it when I am with a group. I start Matthew 5, verse 1. Now, when Jesus saw the crowds, al-jamahir, he went up on a mountainside and sat down. His disciples came to him, and he began to teach. So Jesus saw the crowds. He wanted a private time. Like we say usually, give me a break. أعطيني استراحة, give me a break. Jesus needed a break because he was teaching, he was healing, he was curing, yashfi, and that consumes a lot of energy. Also, he needed to pray. So he saw the crowds and he wanted his own private time. He went on a hillside and he sat down. When I get to this point, I ask the people, why did Jesus sit down? Oh, he was tired. It was hot. It was this or that. Some people know. Some people know the answer. But logically, منطقيا, Jesus went up a hill. So if he was working all the day long, he wanted to rest. So, he was tired, he wanted to rest. That is okay if we read to this point. He sat down. He went up, he wanted to rest. That's good. But we notice that the Bible says, and sat down. His disciples came to him and he began to teach. And he began to teach. Probably you have heard, this is what I explained to the people to make it easy to understand. We have what is called yeshiva. Yeshiva. From the verb yashav. That is a place where the teacher sits. Because an authorized teacher of law, when he teaches, he must be seated. So Jesus sat down not in order to rest, but in order to teach. The place, the seat, al-maq'ad, the seat where the teacher of law sits, we call it cathedra. Cathedra. The seat, today we call it the seat of the bishop. Cathedra. Jesus sat down. Even during the excavations of the catacombs, الأنفاق تحت الأرض, the catacombs in Rome, they say that they discovered a seat quarried, hewn, حفر, in rock. And they believe this is the place, the seat of Peter. Today, wherever there is a seat of a bishop, a cathedra, the building is called cathedral. Cathedral. This is from where the word cathedral. Now, in the Catholic Church, for example, the Church of Annunciation is not a cathedral because it is not the center of a bishop. Even though some people say, yes, the seat of the bishop is behind the altar. When you go to the church, you look there, and there is a big seat behind the altar. So they say it is a cathedral. In Rome, when the Pope wants to issue any law of faith, he must be seated on the seat called cathedra. And anything he says, which is a law in the Catholic faith, we call it ex cathedra, خارج عن كرسي القائد. This is almost holy. The last ex cathedra in Rome was 1950, when the Pope, when the Vatican decided about the Assumption of Mary. The Assumption of Mary. This is more or less what I wanted to say about cathedra, and this is good for the people. They love it. They love it because most of the people don't know about this fact. Now, Mount Beatitudes, in some specific period of time, was called also Mount Nahum. Har Nahum. We don't know who is Nahum, but you can explain the meaning of the words in English. Consolation, to console, yu'azzi, Mount of Consolation. But today we don't hear anybody calling it Mount Nahum. Going down from the Mount of Beatitudes to the shore, you get to what we call in Hebrew Ein Sheva, which is heptapegon, tabra. We'll explain about that. Okay, that is in general. Now about the church. We have the church in front of us, and everybody knows the church, but a little bit of information about it. The Church of Beatitudes is built on the top of previous ruins. There was a Byzantine church that was erected in Tasabat or Buniyat, lower down the slope, not in this place, not on the spot where this church, the present church is. There was a Byzantine church lower down the slope from the current, Al-Hali, from the current site. And it is believed it was built in the 4th century. And it was used until the 7th century. Today, there are remains of a cistern, Sahrijma, Birmai, a cistern, and a monastery. And the ruins are still visible. ممكن رؤيتهم. The modern church was built between 1936 and 1938. And I'm sure you will never forget to mention that Antonio Barluzzi built the church. The floor, I'm talking about the church now. The floor plan is octagonal. And that is as customary, al-urf, in churches that commemorated a founding event. Founding event, خلينا نقول حادث مهم تأسيسي في in the Bible, with the 8 sides representing the 8 Beatitudes. It stands on a large rectangular podium, minassa, that is surrounded on all sides by a portico, riwaq, that allows a view of the Sea of Galilee and the sites where Jesus lived and operated. You can explain to the people from here, you can see where Jesus spent almost 3 years. Also, this is important to mention it to the pilgrims. You can tell the people from this spot, you can see what Jesus saw. You can breathe the same air Jesus was breathing. You can hear the wind that Jesus heard, the sky, the mountains, the lake. So you are living in this moment the Bible. You are living the Bible. This is, if you want, the 5th Bible. And people, this is exciting. this causes a lot of excitement to the people because they want to take pictures. People want to take pictures, but when you put them in the picture, they will be happy. The porch, الشرفة, has 9 arches on each side, except for the north side, where the entrance. Remember, at the entrance, you have the middle arch is bigger than the others. The section of the porch that surrounds it has 7 arches, with the central arch being higher and wider than the others, and leading to the entrance. These numbers have a numerological meaning. The number 7 symbolizes the order of things, the creation, for example. Number 8, the miraculous, al-ajaib, the miraculous things. And number 9 symbolizes the completeness, al-kamal. So when Barluzzi did all what he did, he wanted to say something in his architecture. The design or the structure is built in a Neo-Byzantine style with black stones, black marble, combined with white stones. That is the black local stone with the Galilean limestone. The interior of the church from inside is simply designed as and is divided by 8 arches. The inside, look to the arches around the altar. There are 8 arches into the central area, and the passage, الممر, around it. The wall of the church, the walls from all sides, are white and smooth. There are nothing like big decoration on the walls. Smooth, basit, سلس. And the lower part is covered with colored marble, where elongated, يمتد, and simple rectangular windows are fixed. You can see part of the windows in this picture. Here, you can see the arrow. Now, as I said, the modern church was built in 1938, 1936 to 38. Something interesting about the altar. Around the altar are mosaic symbols of the pavement, الأرضية, representing justice, prudence, fortitude, temperance, faith, hope, and charity. In Arabic, I told you, you will get all this written. العدل, الحصافة, الثبات, الاعتدال, الإيمان, الأمل, والإحسان, that we call the 7 virtues of wisdom. فضائل الحكمة السبع. Then we have the 8 windows that are made of stained glasses and have 8 verses, the blessed, the Beatitudes, written on them up below the dome. You can see them exactly. You have the Beatitudes written in Latin. The interior of the dome is made of gilded gold, مذهب, gilded mosaic, and is illuminated مضاءة by 8 additional windows that you can see at its base. Yeah. So this is how genius Mr. Barluzzi was. The altar itself is made of white and black marble and stands on a 2-steps platform in the center of the church. On the floor of the church around the altar is a mosaic floor, as I said, with the virtues of wisdom, the 7 virtues of wisdom. In 1983, a large mosaic floor was added, if you want, in the plaza, الساحة, in front of the church. You probably noticed that. Usually we just go there and explain about the church, not about these. Anyway, these mosaic showing medallions made of intertwining vine branches, أغصان العنب. The medallions depict various Christian saints and biblical and historical figures. We have the gates of Jerusalem also appear there. We have the 8 verses of the Beatitudes surrounded by bouquets, باقات من الورد, if you want, bouquets of flowers carried by angels. Around the building is a large garden. If you want to mention about the fire that happened few months ago, 2 years ago, if you want, you can mention that. But something interesting that I wanted to mention it, there is a Moses on the floor. There is a Moses on the floor. Here is Moses. Moses is with 2 horns, kurun. Why? This is misinterpretation, شرح خاطئ أو فهم خاطئ, misinterpretation to the Hebrew verse in the Bible. I am going to read in order to understand where is the problem. In Exodus, Shemot, Sefer Shemot, chapter 34, verse 30. It says, sorry if my reading in Hebrew is a problem. It is a problem for me. וירא אהרון וכל בני ישראל את משה, והנה קרן עור פניו. קרן עור פניו. Before they use the punctuation, التنقيط. It looked like Kuf, Resh, Nun Sofit, Keren. And Keren can be a corner, Keren can be a horn, Kuren. So light came out of his faith, but they translated it instead of Karan, Lehakrin, Keren, horns came from his face. So many times you will see Moses with horns. This is the interpretation of the ray of light, radiance of light. So I just wanted to give you an idea. Something also interesting, usually they don't teach it or they try to ignore it. يجهلوها. At the entrance of the church, there was a stone. On the stone was written this statement: the church was designed by the architect Antonio Berluzzi under commission from the Italian Mission Society with funding, tamwil, with funding from Benito Mussolini. For some reason, the nuns decided to remove that stone and replace it by something else. So this is something, I guess it is new for some people. I asked the nun, do you know where is the stone? She said there was no stone. I used to have a picture of the stone. I used to have. I looked for it. Maybe it is on one of my old cameras or old laptops. I don't know. But there was something like that. Okay. This is about the Church of Beatitudes. There are a lot more about it, but because of the limitation of time, I'll talk about the Church of Multiplication. The Church of Multiplication is called Tabgha. Why Tabgha? All of you know that it is heptapagon. Heptapagon. And when the Arabs came in the 7th, 8th century and settled there, they lived there, it was a little bit difficult to pronounce the full name, heptapagon, because hep consumes, تستهلك a lot of air. And we don't have P. We don't have P in Arabic. And people did not know English, Bedouins, nomads. So they removed the first syllable, the first part of the heptapagon. And it became tabigon. Tabigon. We don't have G. We don't have G. So it became R. And Gon started to be Ron, Ra, Tab, Ra. This is the name. Why heptapagon? Because there were 7 springs. Some of them were warm water. And because of the warm water getting into the lake, there was a lot of plankton. There was a lot of food for the fish, and that was a very important fishing area. So about the church, or the history of Taba. We know that there was a church around the year 350. That church was destroyed. Another church was built 480. Most probably that this church, the second church, either was destroyed by the Persians in 614, like one of the theories say that the first church was destroyed by an earthquake that took place in the 4th century. We are not sure 100%, but we know from the findings, from the excavations, that one was more or less 350 and the other was 480. The church was expanded, وسعت, considerably بصورة مشمعوتيت, around the year 480, and the mosaic floor were also added around that time, 480. These renovations, تجديدات, are attributed, نسبت إلى, the Patriarch Martyrius. So as I said, maybe in 614, the church was destroyed by the Persians when the Persians invaded this country. And the exact site of the shrine, Ma'bad, if you want, Mazar, was lost for almost 1,300 years. We didn't know about it. 1888, a German Catholic society purchased, اشترت, the site, which was associated with the Archdiocese of Cologne, Germany. That means Germans bought the area, but they excavated, but they were scared, afraid. Why? Because the Ottomans, in general, wherever they heard about archaeological findings, they confiscated, صادروا, everything and took it to Istanbul. That's why the Germans did not complete the excavations, did not publish anything about the excavations until the 30s, 1930s. They got permission from the British Mandate and they excavated the ruins. The church that we have today is 1892. In this church, usually, it talks about the multiplication of bread and fish. Bread and fish. I'm not talking now about the design, about the mosaics, about all this. I will talk only about the multiplication itself. I know some people are not deep in the Bible stories, especially in theology, علم اللاهوت. Once I had a group with a cardinal. Cardinal is one level below the Pope. And I asked him if he wants to explain about the multiplication after reading the story. He refused. He said, no, 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 no. I want you to explain about it. I told the group, I will explain it according to our culture, the Palestinian culture, because Jesus was a Palestinian. So the culture always keeps something for centuries. According to the story, it was evening. By the way, it is better to read the story in the Bible, but I am making it short. It was evening, and people followed Jesus. Thousands of people. Can you imagine? Thousands, multitudes of people following Jesus. Not because they loved the color of his eyes or they loved maybe his teaching, but mainly they took advantage of his ability, of his power of healing. So people were coming, oh, Jesus, my father is sick, my daughter, my. People followed Jesus, and everyone wanted to ask him a favor. Even some people were not able to approach him. If you remember, the woman with the issue of blood, the bleeding woman, she was unable to talk to Jesus. She came from the back and she touched his clothes. That's how people believed Jesus, followed Jesus, loved him because he can help. So one of the disciples came to Jesus and said to him, "Teacher, it is dark." And those people came from many towns. That means not from Capernaum or Chorazin, many towns. And they need to go back home. It is late. They need to eat. And Jesus said to the disciple, you give them food, you feed them. Oh, come on, Jesus, how can we feed them? Even if we work the whole year, will not be enough to feed all of them. Okay, try to find food here. And they found 5 loaves and 2 fish. This is what people used to have as food, especially if they are going out, because they used to dry the fish. And one theory says that they used to dry the fish mainly in Magdala. There was factory, if you want, a factory to dry fish, either by hanging the fish out or to put them in salt. So he took the 5 loaves and the 2 fish. He raised his eyes up to heaven, prayed, Baruch Ata Adonai, you know the prayer, broke the bread, and asked the disciples to give them. Now the point, most of the people, I don't know if it is correct or not, because I have my own theory too. Most of the people think about Hollywood, the movie, that the disciples took the 5 loaves of bread and the 2 fish and started to distribute. Like they had a basket and they gave a bread, and the bread multiplied itself in the basket. They gave a fish and the fish multiplied itself. This is Hollywood. Some people believe it is the miracle. This is how it happens. But from a cultural point of view, usually I tell people, don't ever say from religious point of view, cultural point of view, من وجهة نظر of culture. Some people, like the disciple came to Steve. Oh, take this, Steve. Oh, no, I have. My mother gave me some food. In fact, I have more than I need. So he said, you take this. I take a piece and you take this. And they came to the next one. I have. So they started to share. The multiplication was by sharing. People don't, especially, for example, with the cardinal, there were priests. Oh, come on, this is not a miracle. In the Bible, there is no miracle. It is not written a miracle. It is called multiplying. So it is not written a miracle. And the bishop said, but this is not how we teach. This is not how we were taught. This is not how we were taught. I said, I know, bishop. Well, cardinal, also bishop. Because suppose you have a mass with 30 pilgrims, and they have the host, al-burshani, for the people, al-burshani, that people take it during the mass. You have 20 hosts for your people, and suddenly another 30 people came into the church, and they want to have communion, al-munawala. What do? He said, I break the host into 2 or 3 or 4 pieces, and it will be enough. I said, this is what happens. And believe or not, the cardinal cried, Becca. The priests were surprised. I asked him, are you okay? He said, yeah, but it hurts. It hurts me that they did not teach us about the culture. They taught us whatever they think it is correct. Maybe they were correct, but I'm telling you what happened with me. So in these things, don't try to get in unless you are very, very sure of what you know and what you can respond, jawab. This is the thing. Inside the church, we are limited with the time, I think. Inside the church, there is the altar. Under the altar, there is a rock. It is believed that this is the rock where Jesus was sitting, standing, when he performed the multiplication miracle. The multiplication miracle. Unfortunately, during the centuries, people came to this rock. It wasn't covered like this. There was no such a church, and started to take pieces of the rock. And they believed it is a blessing. It can cure, it can help with the health issues. It is good. So I tell people, when you go inside the church, I ask them, don't start with taking pictures. Go inside the church, stand there, close your eyes, and ask God to multiply what you need, not what you want. And sometimes I ask some of the people, what do you need in your life? Oh, some money. I tell them, let's say you will get $1 million. You put them in the bank. What good the money will do for you? You will stay the night awake. If the stock market is up, is down, you will get a heart attack. It is headache. If you want to pray, pray for love, for peace, for better communication among the members of the family, about having a child for your son, your daughter, your neighbor who didn't have children. Pray for things like this. To be honest, many people come out and say, oh, I have to go back. I forgot to take a picture, because they spent time praying. Last thing, I didn't cover everything. Last thing, this. This is a very old mosaic. And it is depicting, تظهر, a basket with 4 loaves of bread and 2 fish, not 5. Why? The explanation is the 5th loaf is the bread that the priest uses on the altar during the service. So as if the priest took one of the loaves to celebrate Mass. So that is more or less. If you want more stuff, again, I will give Steve, and he will send you. There is a lot of information about this church. Any questions? صارت 7:15 7:15.
Okay. You finish with
I can continue
No,
next time if you want. About this, yes.
about this we are finished. Okay. Let's begin a little bit about primacy. It's short. Let's say take 10 minutes for primacy.
Okay, a
Primacy
few
church.
words about the Church of Primacy. Also, the primacy will be something.
Yeah.
Okay, the Church of
And we'll finish
Primacy.
here, okay?
Yeah. The
Steve.
Church of Primacy. What is the primacy of Jesus? The primacy of Peter, sorry. The primacy of Peter is started, in fact, in Banias. That is Caesarea Philippi, mentioned in Matthew 16. When Jesus gave the keys to Peter. Then it continues here at the Church of Primacy. Anyway, the church of today was built by around 1933. It seems it was built on the top of a 4th century church that we see some ruins of it in the back of the church, and maybe part of the rocks that you see. These rocks, there are 2 theories about them. One, it is a dock place where they used to tie the boats, because I mentioned this is a very, very important fishing area. Or it is a quarry where they cut stones. محجر كسارة. But the story of the dock or the harbor, if you want, is more convincing. we have the altar. We have the altar. We have the rock inside the church. This rock, it is limestone, and it is called Mensa Christi, the table of Christ, because they believe this is where Jesus prepared the breakfast for the disciples after the fishing. In this area, the story of this place is mentioned in John 21st. John 21st. That Jesus appeared for the third time to the disciples after the resurrection. القيامة, بعد القيامة. He appeared to them when they were fishing. And here there is a beautiful story also. When Peter asked to the disciples, I am going to fish. They said, we'll come with you. And I asked the people, is there something wrong with this? Usually they say, no, it is in the Bible. Yeah, exactly. Because it is in the Bible, there is something wrong. Why? Because Jesus, before he died, he said to his disciples that most of them were fishermen. He said to them, I don't want you to fish fish. I want you to fish men. But now we are in Galilee. Jesus is supposed to be after the resurrection in Judea. And Peter was almost sure Jesus is not here. So I know he told us don't fish, but we want to go because our families need food. We need income. And it seemed they got bored without Jesus. So there were 7. They went to fish all night. They did not fish anything. And suddenly, Jesus appeared at the shore, and they were more or less 100 yards away from the shore. It was early in the morning, dawn. They did not recognize Jesus. We don't know why, but we know that in the room when Thomas did not believe this is Jesus, he asked him to put his finger in his wound on the side. In Emmaus, he was walking with the 2 disciples. They invited him to go to eat with them dinner.
جوزيف تعمل معروف، قول للبنت ما تشحبرش لأنه ببين الاسم كمان. شكرا لك.
So they sat at the table. There was a candle. They did not know him. They did not identify him until he took the bread, broke it, and prayed. Oh, this is you. Also in Tiberias, they didn't know him. So the Bible says that they spent all night without getting anything, And Jesus, that stranger on the shore, they didn't identify him also, asked them, and this is important now. Originally in the Greek Bible, the question is, haven't you get any fish? Don't you have any fish? Some Bibles, especially the Catholic Bible, say, do you have fish? The original question was negative question. Haven't you got any fish? And they said no, which was wrong. Because when I ask you, I ask people, did you enjoy your lunch? Yes, St. Peter fish. Then I ask the same question differently. Didn't you enjoy your lunch? Yes. When you have a negative question even in Arabic. هل أنت بخير؟ أجل. ألست بخير؟ بلى. إذا كان الجواب إيجابي. So they felt shame that all night 7 fishermen did not get anything. And he said, ارمي, cast the net to the right side and you will get. Notice it is an order. Cast. All night they didn't get anything. They casted the net to the right, to the left, back, up, down, nothing. Cast to the right and you will get. They casted and they got fish, 153 fish. Then after that, later, Jesus asked Peter, he didn't ask others, do you love me more than these? More than these? Some people believe more than the disciples, which is wrong because this is a kind of discrimination. That means there is somebody who love more than the other. These are the fish because this is your income, your living. And Jesus said to Peter, feed my sheep. Well, 3 times, feed my lamb, take care of my sheep, feed my sheep, etc. So this gave the primacy, as Peter was the most favorite to Jesus. This is why it is called primacy. There are other explanations, but I made it very simple. Okay, in general, the statue here, the statue is Jesus saying to Peter, feed my sheep. Yeah.
Okay, everybody. I would like to mention something. Now it is 7:30. We began late, something like 10-15 minutes, and right, took 5 to 6 minutes. So we already in time, something like 1 hour lecture. So please, next time,
We'll be in time.
Just began entering, joining the Zoom before 6, that we could begin exact time at 6 exactly. Okay, let's open the microphone and we are waiting for any question for anybody who would like to ask, please. Turn on. Jamil, yeah.
I ask question? Nadia.
Nadia, yes, please.
Yes, I want to ask about the multiplication church outside. We have, I want to say the word in Arabic, جرن للعماد. This is, what is in English, the meaning of جرن للعماد?
Okay, there is a beautiful word for that. Do you know the word font? F-O-N-T?
No, I don't.
Font, usually it is خط, خطوط. الخطوط.
Yes.
But for baptismal, we call it baptismal font.
Yes.
Okay?
We know the word fountain.
Font, baptismal font, we have to
Oh.
say.
Font,
Or,
yeah.
or basin.
Thank you very much.
Anybody else? Yes, Radi, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I was very and deeply concentrated that you made me live the journey, indeed. So thank you very much.
Welcome.
I would like to ask generally, okay, I find disciples and apostles. What's the difference? I found 12 disciples and 70 apostles. This is the first question. And the other question is, Are they synonyms? Gospel, Evangel, Holy Bible, New Testament? If you please make me more organized. Thank you in advance.
Okay, okay.
سنة لاهوت.
Disciples, if you want, in easier way, students, but a higher level than students. Apostles in Arabic, Rasul. That means these people who were sent to preach. A disciple can be a disciple can be an apostle, but usually an apostle not necessarily is a disciple. Okay?
Okay.
Now, when you say Bible is the whole thing, Old Testament and New Testament. The word, what did you ask?
Gospel, Evangel.
Evangelist.
Okay. Gospel is each one of the 4 written stories by the 4 men. This is a gospel. Some people include all the New Testament as a gospel. Yeah, it is the same like Evangelion, if you want. Evangelist, those people who wrote these writings.
Thank you.
Okay, I would like to mention something before that we continue, that next week the meeting will be about the other churches around the lake in the northwest side of the Sea of Galilee. Capernaum, might be Magdala as well, Chorazim and Corsi. So we make step by step to cover all that area. It will be next Friday at 6. We will send the location and the link. Please, you want to add anything else?
What I wanted to ask,
Good. You want me
is
to
the is the way I was explaining is okay, like the multiplication, how I explain it, like the
it was very good, clearly.
Cathedra, etc. Because I also can explain the story of primacy in the way how I explain it to the disciples. That means you will need to meet me 2 more times or 3 more times.
No problem about
The
that.
explanations will be long, like today. I almost didn't mention anything about the primacy. Is that okay with you?
Yeah. We are happy to be with you again and again. I would like to mention other important thing to everybody, that people from abroad enjoy us in this meeting and send for all of you the best. They enjoy the meeting every time. I hope I give them the chance if they want to say something, but we send you a lot of best and hello here from the Holy Land. Pray for us for the peace for the land of peace. You are welcome, everybody from abroad.
Other questions?
Any other questions, please? جميل، تحب تحكي؟
Okay. Then we are done for tonight.
Yeah.
Munir.
Yes, please, Munir.
Hi, good evening. Thank you, Khalil. But I have a note, actually. It's a question for Riyadh, not for Khalil. He mentioned that he's gonna publish it in YouTube. Why in YouTube? I think, to my own opinion, it's something private. that we work for. You know, it's something belong to us as guides. Why should we publish it in the YouTube?
Can I answer?
Yeah.
Well, I think, well, I invited few
Yes, يعني.
notes. I sent few notes to some of my friends, tour leaders and travel agents.
Mhm.
Some of them are with us. Some of them are with us. And they are sending blessings.
Yeah.
They are sending blessings. They want also to know, to learn. And that is good. And when they see your name here, they know that you are informative. You have information.
Mhm.
And probably they will request you, Mr. Munir.
If so, I accept that. Thank you, Khalil.
Okay, Habib.
We are not making business here, yeah?
Can I convince you?
Any other questions?
Anybody else? So
Okay.
we
Good
will
evening,
Jamil,
everyone.
Jamil would say
شكراً،
something.
شكراً.
تفضل
Good
عم
evening.
Jamil.
Okay.
One finger, one question.
One finger, one question. Okay, I
Two
will.
fingers, two questions, three questions.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Mr. Khalil, about your lecture. Now, in the Church of the Multiplication, we have two black stones. So this is an olive press, right?
Yeah.
Now, what I want to ask you is that after we crushing the olive fruit, so we have some material, something before we separated the oil from the other things. What we can call this material in English? In English.
Sediments.
Sorry?
Sediments. Rawasib.
No.
What?
Not rawasib. Before, immediately after we crushing the olive fruits, okay? Before we separated the oil from the other things, we have some material.
جبت
Can mention it in Arabic?
جبت
What? I didn't hear.
يعني بعد ما بنفوت على المعصرة احنا بنحط الزيتون قبل ما نفصلهن، قبل ما نحطهن بالفاصل اللي فيه شيء بيفصل بين العكر والجفت وفي الزيت. اوكي، هاي المادة قبل ما احنا نفصلها، فما احنا في الحجر الاول الاسود احنا بناخذ كل شيء اللي هو صرنا طاحنينه، اوكي، مش بدور الحيوان.
اوكي.
او على الماكينه احنا من كراشنج، او احنا بنكسر او بنطحن.
اوكي. سماش.
هذا الشيء قبل ما احنا ففي
I
ماده.
have no idea. I am sorry. If anybody knows, I will be happy to hear. I have no idea about this.
Yeah.
I have never been to an olive press, so I don't know about the process.
مو احنا في الحجر الاول بدنا ننقل هاي الماده عشان
I know, I understood what you said, but I have no idea. I haven't been to an olive press. I never saw that. I have no idea. Sorry.
صرت سائل اكثر من 20 معلم انجليزي ولا حدا عارف. يعني مش بس
انت عارفها بالعربي، يعني غير الجفت في لها اسم ثاني؟
فيش لها اسم.
وهذا الجفت، معلش اسمحوا لي لحظه، الجفت هو الماده اللي بتتكون بعد العصير. بعد العصير هذا الجفت بتظل ماده اللي بيستعملوها في بعض البلاد، بيستعملوها للدفاي، للدفا بالشتوي شيء. بس انا اللي فهمت ايش اللي بقصده الاخ جميل، حتى الزيتون لما بتنطحن يعني شو اسم الماده هاي اللي بتكون هي الزيتونه مطحونه؟
زيت العكر.
لا مش زيت العكر، بعدها الزيتونه فقدت يعني الشكل تبعها،
فقدت الشكل.
سماش.
هي بعدها زيت مع عكر مع الماده اللبه تبعت الزيتونه مع
بعرفش.
Anything you broke it, you smash it. I think this is the main should be the answer. Somebody raise his hand. Walid, maybe.
No, no. It's okay.
Okay. طيب.
Sorry, Jamil. Sorry, Munder. I don't know about it. If you want to ask me about the history of olive, I can tell you.
Tomorrow, tomorrow,
Okay.
tomorrow, I invite you to come and see.
But
Inshallah.
I want to say something personally.
No, no, you don't come.
I explained about that site, and I said they move the rock with wood by force along the wood. You push. That means if you push in 1 kilo with 10 meters, it's like something like 100 kilo for moving the rock. Like this, they move the rock around. And it is by the third law of Newton. So somebody, he correct me. He said, no, this is Archimedes. I said, yeah, but Newton continues Archimedes, and that's true again also. So just be careful when you explain something with math and physics. Might be who's in front of you, could be engineering. By the way, he was civil engineering as well, and he's in the construction side as well. But he will with roads. I'm with buildings more. So then I go and I read about Archimedes and his origin, not from Greek, his origin from Algiers today. Remember, he's from North Africa, his origin, not from Greek. His culture was Greek. Okay.
Don't get to what Steve just said. And don't hesitate to say, I don't know.
Yeah.
When you don't know, you don't know. It is not a
I'll
big
check.
issue.
Yalla.
Okay.
Thank you.
تصبحوا على خير.
Abu Shara, تصبح على خير. Good night, everybody.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. See you later.
Bye, good night.
Bye bye.
Bye bye bye.
يا الله.
يلا انا هي بدي اطفي هون. باي 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 باي.
سوري انه بدي اتركك بسرعه.
لا.
نص ساعه برا، انا كنت لها على 7.
يعطيكم العافية.
باي خيا باي باي.
باي.
سكت.